Gospel truth and supersizing your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. 13 signs that someone is lying to you. This is an idiom and expression that's been around since the 1300s, but of course it's probably been around since biblical times because it refers to the gospel according to the Bible, whichever Bible you might read or use or whatever, or refer to. But it means that things in the Bible are assumed to be the gospel truth, the absolute truth. That's something, and it's used to say, hey, that's the gospel truth, meaning the thing I just told you is absolutely true. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a liar. I don't believe in lying. I don't believe in being dishonest, but a lot of people do. A lot of people will say anything to get what they want. And so I looked up 13 signs of lying, and I'm going to share them with you because I want to see if you have ever been lied to like I have. I've been lied to, manipulated, cheated, and maybe it's because I'm naive, but I like to think I'm getting less naive as the years go by. So I really got a kick out of these 13 signs that someone's lying to you. And they're a lot like reading body language and paying attention to people and the signs they make. But some of us are just hyper and nervous all the time, especially on video. So we might exhibit some of these and not even know we're doing it when we're absolutely telling the truth. We're just nervous. So know what is natural for the person. This is something from negotiations as well. Know how people normally behave so that when they're behaving that way in a negotiation or a stressful situation or in court or in an interrogation or when they're telling you something that they want you to believe or trying to sell you something, you know if they're being honest or not, or if they're behaving in a way that's normal for them, or if they're exhibiting different types of body language, things that aren't in their usual repertoire. I think of fidgeting and moving a lot. I know a lot of people, including myself, who are ADHD, and we're always moving. We're always moving something. We're moving our hands and talking with our hands. That's just normal for me. But for some people, it isn't normal at all. So what are some of these signs? They change the position of their head, for example, or something quickly. They're telling you something and they get jerky, or they change their head, or they'll say something and then they'll change their head, or you ask them a question and they'll jerk their head up or down or around or some way kind of unusual before they have to answer. Secondly, their breathing changes. Maybe they start breathing really, really heavily or rapidly or whatever, something that's different than what they were doing before you got into this conversation. They repeat words or phrases. They repeat words and phrases over and over and over again, trying to convince both themselves and you that what they're telling you is the truth. Now, I've interacted with some people that are notorious liars in the past, and even some family members. You hate to admit that, but they actually will repeat things and stories over and over and over again in order to actually brainwash themselves into believing that they're true when they're just actually not. There's something that they fabricated. They instinctively cover vulnerable body parts. So if they're telling a lie, so for example, somebody in an interrogation might cover their mouth, or they might cover their, women, their chest, and then their privates, whatever, or their knee, or something that's vulnerable on them. I have a challenged heart, so if I were lying, I might cover my heart, They touch or cover their mouth. Oftentimes when somebody's lying to you, they'll cover their mouth or they'll touch their mouth, and they think it's for emphasis, but really it's a cue that they're not telling the truth because their subconscious is trying to prevent them from lying, right? Because they know they're telling a lie. They shuffle their feet a lot. People that shuffle their feet, again, some of us are just wiggly wobbly and move around a lot. But if somebody is behaving in a way that's abnormal and they're standing and talking to you at the water cooler and taking credit for their subordinates' idea, they might shuffle their feet or move their feet. So you can always, one of the key ways, and the FBI brought this up and studied and investigated this, that when they're interrogating someone, a lot of times if they're lying, they'll shuffle their feet. They provide too much information, excess details, excess talking. Now, I talk a lot, so I'm like, wow, that makes me nervous. But they'll they'll embellish and add detail to stories. It's like the fish stories, right? If somebody's telling you a fish story about how they caught the biggest fish in the world or had the biggest deal in the world, and they're embellishing it, they'll add all kinds of deal because they think it adds credibility to the story. And again, subconsciously, they're trying to convince themselves that it's true. They tend to point a lot. People that point a lot, which I got to talk to my mom because she shakes that finger in your face sometimes and say, stop pointing because I know you're not a liar. One of the most honest women I know on the planet. But they tend to point a lot and finger pointing especially, I think. It becomes difficult for them to speak. A lot of times when people are not telling the truth or being honest, their mouth will get really dry because they're nervous. And when you get nervous, your mouth gets dry or stressed out. They might purse their lips or subconsciously start lip biting. They stare at you without blinking too much. This is a sure sign that someone is actually lying. They will stare at you intently in order to try to control and convince and manipulate you by not blinking and not looking away. When we're talking to somebody, we blink, we look away. I mean, even when I'm talking on my video to myself, although we've got people listening, I try to look away sometimes so I don't feel like I'm staring you down. They begin to perspire or sweat. Now, just might be hot, right? But if somebody all of a sudden gets a bead of sweat on their lip or on their head, their forehead, or their eyebrows, or you see sweat streaming down their cheeks and it's not hot outside or hot in the room, that could be an indication that they're not being honest with you. And in this last one, I'm like, they fidget. But keep in mind that worried or stressful situations, or if people get nervous speaking in public or something, they just might fidget more. I tend to fidget when I'm speaking, and especially depending on the crowd and how comfortable I am, I will fidget more or I'll have more emotions, right? Doesn't mean I'm not telling the truth or that I'm not comfortable with the information. It just means I'm kind of nervous in front of this group of people. So I like this list for a lot of reasons. I think about this list and I think about all the times I have been lied to and manipulated or tried to be controlled, and I didn't recognize these signs or see these signs, or because I loved the person, I would write them off as and make excuses for them, and that has not served me well in the past. And it's one thing I'm working on personally as part of this month's Get Your Goals annual challenge. We're working on spirituality this month, and one of the things I'm working on is a goal as we go through the SOAP framework to fix some of the things that have been broken in me, because all of us, if you get old enough, stuff gets broken, and stuff is things that is impacting you on a subconscious level that you might not even realize. And we want to go and we want to deal with those things, deal with past traumas and dramas and challenges, and make sure that we don't fall for them in the future. I love, my dad used to always tell my sisters and I never met a con man I didn't like. Although my dad never fell for a con man because he knew these things intuitively. He knew if people were being dishonest. And I wish I would have learned that from him, because it would have saved me a lot of heartache over the years. All right, if I can help you in any way, I would love to know if you have ever been lied to, or if you have ever experienced somebody that's talking to you and you know they're lying, or they're stretching the truth, or they're trying to manipulate or control or be dishonest with you to get you to do what they want. And I think intuitively know that, but we stuff it down sometimes because we don't want to know, because people we love and trust, we don't expect to ever behave that way toward us. Yet, guess what? They do. Shockingly, they do. All right. And how does this help us grow and supersize our business? Well, of course, we want to deal with people that are being honest and trustworthy and forthright with information and things whenever we're growing and building and supersizing our business. That includes our customers, our employees, or our co-workers, our vendors and suppliers, everybody that we interact with. We want to be honest, and we want to first be honest ourselves, right? All right, have an awesome day. I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it to build and grow and supersize your business? Have an awesome day, and I'll be with you tomorrow.